What is up, Shop Freaks? Jack here from Section Store, and I'm here to pitch to be your next Shopify developer, but without sending you an invoice at the end of every month. Section Store is exactly what it sounds like. It's a component library of over 700 different theme sections that lets you build custom storefronts or add on to your existing theme without paying developers monthly app subscriptions or buying premium themes. If you've actually built a Shopify theme, you'll probably know that making it look good isn't quite as easy as it's made out to be. Section Store solves that problem, whether you need a completely custom storefront or your existing theme is just missing a couple of features. To use it, just head into the app and browse for sections. There's over 700, everything from heroes to comparison tables, bundle builders, product page widgets, and more. All of the Section Store sections are one-time purchases and they're priced between $0 and $9. That means when you see something, you buy it once, you own it forever. There's no subscription, there's no app lock-in, and you're not paying on an ongoing basis just to keep your store running. Once you've found something that you like, you add it to your existing theme with one click from the app and you customize it just like any other Shopify section. Head into the theme editor, add it in the theme, and then customize it right there with everything else. A great example of this in practice is my friends at Salt. They had killer marketing and a great brand idea, but like a lot of startups, they didn't have a budget for development. We sat down for a weekend with Section Store and built a completely custom storefront for a total of $176. Salt's gone on to do over $200,000 in sales in their first 9 months, and they've got a storefront that you can use for the next 10 years without having to pay another dollar for. Section Store is already used by thousands of brands, from people who are yet to make their first sale to enterprise Shopify Plus customers. If you want to build your own completely custom storefront, or you're already up and running on Shopify but your theme's missing a couple of features, you can download Section Store completely free, browse over 700 sections, and only pay once for the ones that you use.
Hey everybody, welcome to the 5th episode of 90-Second Pitches, the channel that aims to introduce you to innovative e-commerce technology that helps you run your store. I'm excited today to have Jack Wilson from Section Store joining me all the way from Thailand. He's from New Zealand. He lives in London. He's escaping the cold right now in Thailand. Thanks for joining, Jack.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Paul.
I didn't ask, what city are you in or what town in Thailand?
Right now I'm in Koh Samui, so one of the islands just off the east coast. It's good weather this time. Good diving. So that's where I'm located at the moment.
That's awesome, everybody. I love Thailand. And actually, my relationship with Thailand is how I ended up in Ecuador years ago. This is going back a while. I had a trip to Thailand planned, had the tickets purchased, and the king, who was king for like 80 years, had passed away. And I decided my trip was like in 2 days, and I was like, you know what? This is a really disrespectful time to show up as a tourist. The country was in mourning for 30 days, maybe a little bit longer. So I was like, I'm going to cancel the trip. I'll go another time. I pulled out my globe, looked on the map, and I was like, where do I want to go? I heard good things about Quito, Ecuador. It's like the city in the sky. Anyway, so that was the reason why I ended up in Quito 2 days later, was because I canceled my trip to Thailand, which I had been to before and loved it. And now I'm flash forward, I'm still here living in Ecuador. So I have a good relationship with that country as well, too. It definitely impacted my life indirectly. Well, Jack, we just saw your pitch. Now we want to see a live product demo. Thank you for doing the pitch. I thought it was great, but now we want to see it in action, kind of get a feel for how it works and what the back end looks like.
Yeah, of course. Let me share my screen here and I can show you how the app works. Cool. So this is the Section Store app. It's comprised of essentially 3 main components. The first bit, which you see here, is the sections, which is the majority of the app. And then we've also got conversion blocks and new bundles and quantity breaks, which I will cover off in a second. So the main focus of the app are these, our sections. Pretty much does what it says on the box, Section Store. Shop full of sections. There's over 700 of them. You can scroll through here, pick out things that you like, and add them to your theme. As you can see, we've got everything from feature components, like testimonial or review components. There's like scrolling sections, hero sections. I can't pull them all up because there's more than 700, but here's a few examples. This would be like a hero section that you could add to a theme. There's testimonial or like review sections. There's over 40 different components of these. Similar things for collections. This is one example of how you could set up a collection section with a Section Store section. And then there's also product page widgets just like this. So for these sections in the app, they work with any Shopify theme and they're all a one-time charge. 99% of them are $9. There's the odd outlier that's around $14, but most of them are at that $9 price point. You buy them once and you own them forever. You're not paying a subscription for them every month or anything like that. And once you've got them, to add them to your theme, you just come into the theme editor, you look up the section name, you would save the theme, And now you have the section and theme, just like setting up any other section in Shopify. You customize them the same way as well. So for this one, I'll just click on the section name. Everything gets customized right here in the theme editor, the same as all of the components that come with your theme. You can see for this reviews section, we would set up all the overall section settings here. And then we have the individual cards that make it up. Again, all customized right here in the theme editor. There's nothing else that we have to do within the app. So I think this is a great example, actually. These are my friends at Salt. It's a UK-based electrolyte or hydration brand. They built their entire website with section store. So the header component, this hero section, the featured collection, image with text, these cards here, and the footer. And again, on the product page, it's all made up of these $9 components from section store, which they've put together, like the shipping indicator bar, the upsells, the product tabs, product videos, even the sticky add to cart button at the bottom of the page. It's all just section store components stacked on top of one another in the theme editor.
What they use for the theme,
So
do you remember? Is it the out of box like Horizon or something?
Yes. So for the underlying theme, it's just Horizon, fresh out of the box, no customizations. With the section store sections on top, and then of course a couple other bits of app functionality like subscriptions, your pop-ups and marketing and all that good stuff. So this is the second component that I briefly touched on, which is our conversion blocks. Conversion blocks are these little widgets or like smaller sections specifically for the product page. So you've got things like the social proof, these in-stock indicators that actually reflects the stock level of the product. Benefits lists, payment icons, essentially everything that you see that's green on this page. And likewise, the same thing here. There's 20 conversion blocks really focused at, maximizing those product page conversions and just getting a lot of features like these review summaries or add-ons that a lot of people want to add to their Shopify themes, but historically have been quite difficult to do with just a regular Shopify theme. And finally, this is a feature that's just released this week, actually. You're probably familiar with this concept from other apps out there on Shopify, but we now also have a bundles functionality within the app. So if you're building your theme with the sections, you're using the conversion blocks, you also get access to these product page bundles. I'm sure everybody's familiar with these. Great for your AOV, quite popular on Shopify. So this is the newest feature or component from Section Store.
That looks great. So it's just pulling from the variants in each one of those little drop downs?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. No, because you mentioned on the website and on the app listing, it's like you don't need an app for everything. And that's true. There's so many apps that do one small thing that if you're a developer or a coder, you're like, I can do that with HTML. I don't need to pay $3.99 a month for an app that does that. And that's a good example. A lot of the bundle apps or upsells, they're really just using Shopify's native functionality, and it's a front end thing. It's like what you're seeing as that bundle, like the one you were just showing. It's like that there's no behind the scenes logic going on. They're just using, like I said, Shopify's native discounting feature, and they're just packaging it on the front end. So, really, really cool stuff. So just to clarify for everybody, so the sections, they work on every single store, on every single page. The collection pages, the product pages, the regular pages, and then the new blocks, conversion blocks that you just added, are those exclusively within the product info on the product templates?
So, I mean, technically for the 2.0 themes, they can be added anywhere. I've seen a couple of stores that have implemented them on the cart page, not in the cart drawer, but on the full cart page as a block. But as a general recommendation, they're definitely designed for within that like product information section of the product page specifically.
Oh, cool. But you can use them anywhere on the product template, or really on any template. Because on some of that stuff you were showing, it's good, but I find that the product info section gets really busy really quickly. So I like to separate stuff like that. I like to use I'm a big fan of using the entire product template with dynamic content to sell products. And so some of that stuff would be really cool down below later on the page. I actually discovered Section Store a while back, and I use it. So when Jack emailed me back in November and he was like, hey, I want to show you my app, maybe do a pitch. I was like, no, I'd love for you guys to do a pitch. I'm a customer. I use it on a lot of stores. And funny enough, I actually discovered it from a competitor who introduced me to the whole genre of section stores. I've been working on Shopify for years. I never knew that I could buy these sections through an app. And as a developer, it's like, yeah, I could do it myself, sure, but think about the hours that I would put into it. And so I use it all the time. One, to speed up my process a little bit, but two, just to save clients money. And then three, so I don't have to deal with maintaining them myself or troubleshooting them, because I know that they've already gone through a process. So when I found out about the competitor app, I started using it, and I was like, whew, this is got a subscription. My clients don't necessarily want one more subscription. And that's how I stumbled upon Section Store and started using you guys. And that, correct me if I'm wrong, but your one-time fee model is really what separated you from the pack years ago when you launched, right?
I think so, yeah. I know that, yeah, back then and even now, we consistently get, feedback from customers around the pricing model and, just appreciation that, yeah, the sections are a one-time charge, and you're not paying subscription. I know Shopify, yeah, historically, a lot of apps on the App Store have led quite heavily towards the subscription model. And so, yeah, having that one-time charge component, a lot of merchants have really appreciated it. I think that's where a lot of our feedback has come from. And hopefully that, yeah, gives them the funds to, either invest in other apps or other parts of the business.
So there's competitors, obviously. You guys launched in 2022. I don't know when some of the other big names had launched, if they were there before already with their subscription model, and if or not. But even since then, I just got pitched one a few weeks ago, and I wanted to go, another section store. It's not called Section Store, but you kind of have the general name, like the name of your app. I could also name the genre itself too. So I got pitched another one. I was like, okay, more of them popping up. And then on top of that, there's Shopify's AI section builder. Can you kind of speak to the market as a whole right now and what's going on in the world of sections and how it's changed?
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of, yeah, back when it was launched, I don't have the exact dates in terms of every application, but I think definitely we were one of the first, if not the first, and the dominant kind of applications for, page building, where you're sort of page fly or gem pages, those sort of page builder applications. Like you mentioned, since, the concept has kind of become more popularized, whether that's, through the customers or just people seeing the app, definitely a lot more of them have started popping up. There's, probably 12, 14, maybe even 20, similar applications now with the section functionality. Yeah, like you mentioned, it's an interesting sort of space and time and one component. Obviously, a lot more competition popping up. And then also, as you mentioned, with the AI, I think AI is, obviously disrupting a lot of industries. It's definitely having an impact here. I'm not sure how much you've maybe used your Shopify AI. I think it's great for some things. I know that adding payment icons to the product page, or maybe a relatively static section. It's great at can sort of get them done in a couple of minutes. Other slightly more complex functionality, from my experience using it, sometimes still leaves a little bit to be desired. So
I've
yeah,
actually
I
never
wouldn't say
had success with building an AI section through, what is it, Sidekick within Shopify. And I've tried, and to be fair, I've not done it dozens of times, but I've done it a handful of times. And each time the initial output was so bad that I was like, I don't even want to waste time continuing through this. And again, it could be my own misuse of the tool. Maybe my prompts are wrong. I don't know, but I definitely expected a lot more. The one that comes to mind that was trying to do a carousel for videos and played around with a little bit. Just, it's I could output stuff, but then I was like, well, now where do I go and actually input the YouTube URL of the video? And I had to jump into the code anyway. And I was like, what? Okay. The shortcoming was the customization after it built it. So anyways, that one more thing I went back to Section Store for, and then $9 later I saved hours. So I don't know. I'm a fan, and I like I said, for all the years that I worked on Shopify, I never knew it existed. And so once I discovered it, I see the value in it. And maybe it started to pop off once 2.0 came out too. Maybe before 2.0, there wasn't as big of a need for this because you couldn't customize the entire website with sections like you can now. And now it's the sky's the limit.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely think 2.0 was a big turning point for like applications like this. I remember sort of during that period where everybody was transitioning to 2.0, we still had a lot of people where it would be the product page or the cart page, and we're having to go into like the theme code and add like a little sort of like add a little like line of code to display them on like product pages or cart pages. So yeah, it's definitely a lot easier for us, like for the merchants, really everybody building on Shopify now with those 2.0 themes.
And I prefer doing it all within the theme customizer too for what I can. I'm either theme customizer, can't do it, jump into the code, but I hate using third party platforms and having to have that's like so I'm working on a site right now, and it's one of those sites that has been around for a long time and it's changed hands through multiple developers. And at some point I'm just like, we're calling it. This thing is such a Frankenstein of code. And one of the ways that it's been Frankenstein is that it's got 2 or 3 third-party builders. I don't want to speak ill of these builders because I'm sure there's benefit to them. For me, I don't like them, so it's not my thing. But one of them was like Builder.io, and the other one was Gem Pages. And so I just, again, you can do a lot with them, but it's not the workflow that I like. I don't like to open up another tab and then feed stuff in. And I had the same complaint when Lovable came out. Did you try their theme builder by chance?
I have had a couple of turns with it. Yes.
Do you, again, this could be me doing it wrong, but I remember building it, pushing it, and then I was like, wait a minute, I have to edit it now through Lovable, and so I was trapped into that platform just like you would be through one of the third party builders. And I was like, I don't want this. Like, I just want to make a quick change. I don't want everything to be with AI. But anyway, that's why I'm personally a big fan of the section stores. I use yours and I've had success with it. I haven't necessarily tried all of them on the market, so maybe some of them are fantastic. But I like speak to the concept and say I absolutely love it. So, um, talk to me a little bit about the company. You said launched in 2022. I know you told me in the past that you were the first employee. What does the team look like now?
Yeah, sure. So it was, launched in 2022 on the App Store, founded by Daniel. I, met him sort of not too long after that. It was starting to get a little bit of traction. I think at that point it was really only a handful of sections, the original ones being like announcement bars, payment icons, and some other stuff. Sort of, came on board, and it's essentially just grown from there. I think now we're almost approaching like 20 staff members, globally distributed team between like the developers, both for the sections and the back end of the actual application, the support staff as well, who are all really great, super talented. If you look at the reviews, a lot of the feedback is in relation to support and just how helpful they are, like making changes, customizations for people, designers as well, obviously like finding new sections, and then other components, like marketing, that sort of things as needed. So the company is very healthy,
Is it
growing, remote team.
disproportionately support? Like the more you grow in terms of number of client base, that's got to be a bottleneck, right? With growth is like it's a one-time fee, but then you never know when support's coming in. And in order to keep that squeaky clean reputation of having good support, you've got to have enough people on hand to now deal with you never know, right? I'm making up a number, but you have 20,000 merchants and you have 50,000 merchants. I know in my own business, I'm a small boutique agency, but it's like some days you just get hit, right? So you got to have enough customer service on hand to keep people happy when they need you. So is that out of the 20 you said, is that most of them, or can you handle it with a small group?
Yeah, so it's probably, I think we're at about 5 or 6 is the number in terms of support staff. So support is, like you mentioned, there definitely is like a reasonable amount of support. People reaching out. A lot of the stuff is, luckily not like super complicated, or because we've been making these sections for so long, we're sort of across like a lot of the like common errors or sort of like things that could go wrong. So generally they're built pretty robust. And if people are reaching out for support, it's just like a configuration thing or a question. But support tickets definitely do come in. 5 or 6 staff that are working on the email queues full time to support the merchants.
Do you guys have a layer of AI in between the people support? or have you not gotten into that yet?
Yes, we do. So there's a layer of AI in there. That's something that I'm, yeah, planning on working on. I think it's a case of with AI support striking like a good balance. Incredibly like useful tool, but yeah, like I mentioned, we got a lot of like reviews and positive, excuse me, feedback because of the support. So it's just a case of making sure that that human element like still exists there, and if people are trying to build their website or something's gone wrong and like the AI can't help them out, that yeah, there's still someone there to assist them.
I I appreciate the AI support. There's a time and a place, but I also appreciate when there's a very quick jump to a human and it needs to be visible the whole time. I hate the ones that make you go through a whole funnel of AI tiers before they finally connect you with somebody. I really appreciate the ones that at any point in the AI, I can jump ship and go to a human. But especially for apps, there's a few uh, apps that I use that I've been able to get really good support from the AI because some of it is just technical questions, and I'm just like, hey, can I integrate this with this? Um, and the AI can handle it. The one that comes to mind actually is I don't know if you use any of Bold Commerce's app, but I had a very specific question a while back, and I clicked on their chat, and I was like, good. I remember they have chat, and I was like, oh, it's AI now, great. Um, but no, it did it, and it did it pretty well, and I was surprised that it was able to answer my question. But um, I'm a little bit fearful as a business owner of using the AI customer support only because I don't know, maybe it's just a control issue. It's like I don't know what it's saying wrong. It's one of those things you don't always discover the problems that it's doing unless you start looking through every single chat log to see where it went rogue.
Yeah, I think you definitely want to keep a close eye on it and sort of like, yeah, QA it or make sure it's giving the right answers. But like you said, it is, yeah, like a great tool, especially now, the AI support agents, you can feed them like context, you can feed them your code base. Like for us, for example, it can, read the code of a section, like all of the schema, it knows like what settings are there if people are reaching out with a question of just, how can I make the corners rounded on a particular section, for an example. That's probably like a great one that AI can jump in and answer. But then there's some other stuff where you maybe on the rare occasion a section store section might be clashing with something like from the
Yeah.
existing theme, or possibly if they've gone in and like try and like modified it in some way. Obviously, the AI at the moment anyway, it's not feeding live context like from the theme via the API. So yeah, it doesn't have context on that. Probably one that it couldn't solve. But yeah, that's why we have great support team that will jump in and answer those questions.
Have you started bringing AI into your development flow on the development side of building out and designing the sections? Has it one, have you done it? Have you brought it into the flow? And two, has it helped you with output, putting out more sections in a given week or month, whatever the timeline is that you were prior?
Yeah, for sure. So it's definitely been integrated into that workflow. I think that really all developers should be leveraging AI. I think with our developers, even before um, AI sort of came out, they were just, so well versed in Liquid, so used to like writing these sections. They can knock them out pretty quick. And so a lot of it is still, I think, done by hand just as a byproduct of them being like, so familiar with Liquid and just so used to writing these sections. But yeah, we're definitely, like leveraging AI in the ways that it makes sense to, get your sections out faster and make them better, or like, whatever the benefit might be.
Because you've been out for almost 5 years. Um, your website a few months ago said 500 sections, which, by the way, it still references 500 in some places. You got to update that to 700 on the website. But so now we're at 700 plus. So you're doing over 100 sections a year. I mean, maybe that's ramped up a little bit. It wasn't always 100 per year, but now that's kind of what you've averaged. What does the future look like? Is that output going to stay about the same? Or do you think if I talk to you in a year from now, are you suddenly at 1,000 plus sections?
Yeah, good question. I'd say, I mean, yeah, a year from now, we would probably be very close to, if not exceeding 1,000 sections, I would say. Excuse me. I think, yeah, like you said, obviously, as the company gets bigger, um, you know, people have been working here for a bit longer. Obviously, the capacity to put stuff out increases. As a byproduct of that, though, the sort of like complexity of the sections is like also increasing. I think we're moving slightly away from, your payment icons or like scrolling announcement bars. If you look at the news sections in the app now, there's some, you know, quite like complex animated like heroes, like carousels. And so, yeah, the development per section is taking like a little bit longer, but the team's bigger. We're able to support that. I don't know what the exact number is for an average, but I know that generally for like marketing correspondence, we have between 5 and 6 new sections every single week that, can be like distributed or shouted out to people. And I would expect that to like, yeah, either stay at the same number or slightly increase.
In terms of the ideas for the next sections, um, how much is in your roadmap at any given point? Are you always like, oh, yeah, we have a repository of 1,000 ideas that we could pull from, or 100? You know what I mean? Or it's like, how do you decide what comes next? Is it based on people asking you for stuff, or is it just like we get so many ideas, we just now need to choose which one to go with next?
Yeah, sure. So it's kind of, people definitely ask for a lot of stuff, and that is a great source of like section inspiration or section ideas, people reaching out either through support or there's like a request a section functionality in the app. If you can find something, submit a design file or maybe like a reference website that you like, as long as we think more than, just you as the person requesting the section is going to use it and it's like technically possible, generally we'll try and create it. So a lot of sections coming from that. And then, yeah, we also have a great sort of research and like design team who both like designs a lot of sections um, and submits them. So we've always got I'm sure if I went in and check right now, there's probably sort of like 1 or 200 concepts sitting there just ready to be picked out and worked on at any given time. So
I got you. So sometimes they're brand new sections. Sometimes they're other version 2 of like a carousel, different design, different setup. And other times it's just, oh, I need this feature added to an existing section that I just need this one thing. And so that's a quicker change, I would imagine, just to do stuff like that. But um, interesting. So I am curious with agentic commerce and AI and the rapidly changing environment of e-commerce, maybe the type of sections that you guys are talking about that are the ones that bring people into the door, right? Um, I imagine they're different than they were even a year ago. So are you now like, hey, we've got all these new channels that people are gearing up to shop in. We've got new feeds. How is all of what's happening that we talk about every week at Shopper Freaks affecting your world of sections, if any?
yeah, sure. So it's definitely something that we're like aware of. It's hard to see any direct impact yet. Like I mentioned before, I think we're definitely moving away from, sections like payment icons or like, announcement bars or even product tabs, right when the app first launched, that was like a really popular section was just, those accordions on the product page. As you know, most themes either like come with them now, you can sort of generate them with AI. And so we're moving away, I think, a little bit from sections in that style and more towards sort of like the ones I showed in my demo, quite like complex, like animation, really like, quite technical, very well written sections, which is a lot harder for, these AI models or other things like that to replicate. So I think that's the, next logical iteration of sections is AI can, all these other things can definitely replace like the really easy stuff. But there's sections on Section Store that are very comparable to what a big 30, 40, sort of like $50 million e-commerce brand would put out for their hero section or for their collections. And so I think it's just increasing like the complexity and just like raising the bar a little bit in regards to what a section is will
That's
position
interesting.
us quite well.
That's more what AI could replace in terms of building sections. I was kind of wondering on a different side with AI scraping websites, with AI using Shopify and their API to pull in the product catalog and all this stuff. Does that impact the sections that you're building, or is that mostly front end that you do and the search and the search engines and the AI is coming in to the back end and through the API? I guess I'm just wondering, maybe to frame it differently. There's trends in sections. We see it, every year you'll start to see some of the bigger stores experiment with different things, different design styles, and then they become commoditized, right? A new store will do something, everyone wants to copy it, someone will make an app for it or a section. So what does that look like now? I guess I know it's hard to predict the future, but just in terms of what you guys are talking about in house, um, with AI around the corner, with all these new things changing the way people shop, what's coming? I guess with the sections and that caters to that, if any. I know that might be a weird question, but that's kind of where my head's at, trying to be forward thinking just a little bit in terms of how, because I know that the design of my store is going to be impacted by these changes to the way people shop, and the design of my store is directly powered by these sections. So how does these sections help my customers with their changing habits right now?
Yeah, good question. It's one that yeah, a topic probably that we need to explore a little bit more internally. I think, like you mentioned, with the agentic commerce, with it being like historically, it has been scraping, right? If these models wanted to surface products or like data, it has been they're scraping the front end of the website now. Yeah, as you mentioned, as everybody knows, with Shopify's new, I believe it's the catalog API, they're essentially just taking structured like product data and sort of like feeding it straight to these providers. So I think the front end is less relevant. It's sort of just pushing product data straight to OpenAI or whoever it is, and the front end's sort of like largely left alone. It isn't being scraped, and so I think we probably will see them like relatively separate. But of course, if we eventually end up in a situation where like everything is done on agentic commerce and your website is really just like a database and everything's surfaced by these language models, then this section like sort of concept will either have to adapt or of course be a lot less relevant. But I think that's
I
a long way
personally
away
don't
if
think
was that ever
that's
happened.
happening. Yeah, I don't think that's happening anytime soon either. I really don't. And
No,
maybe
not
I'm
at
just
all.
old school when it comes to shopping. And as much as I cover the industry, I don't buy a lot of stuff. One, I've been traveling for 20 years, living with a backpack and a duffel bag. So I haven't shopped for 2 decades for that reason. I don't want to carry stuff with me. But now living down in Ecuador, just the relationship with online shopping is different. We don't. I was reading the other day that Amazon broke their record again for number of daily deliveries that they do in a given day last year. Every year for the past 3 years, they consecutively broke their record in the USA, especially. And it's like, my God, people are ordering a lot of stuff online. It's insane. Because down here in Ecuador, it's like online shopping is like going to an expat Facebook group and like, anyone know where I can find this in Cuenca? And then a bunch of people will respond, and then I spend the afternoon driving to 3 different stores trying to find it because no, we haven't had that for a few months. That's what online shopping looks like here. But in the USA, it's completely different. I To your point earlier about the uh, back end just feeding into these AI monsters. I had this project that I wanted to do. If I can find the time, I still might. I wanted to develop a Shopify store that looked like it was built in 1991 with HTML, just completely white background with no styling at all. The entire thing is just text, and just see what it could do, strictly feeding it into AI in all these places, not even having to display the images on the front end of the website too. You could literally be your .com homepage could just be HTML output. You see the file path of the image instead of the actual image if you wanted to. I just think if I don't do it, someone's going to do it. I just think it's a cool thing to experiment right now and see, because I still think you need the website. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, I think websites are always going to exist, right? If for no other reason than, you know, it's sort of like the face of your brand. It gives people an idea as to what you're about. The same thing with, very similar to, the creator economy and a lot of these things at the moment. People are becoming, it's becoming increasingly relevant to people, transparency and, who brands are, who's behind the brand, who like the founder is. So I think, if for nothing else, and even if all, like the shopping and the commerce was done through like this like agentic logic, I think the websites are still going to exist purely just as a, like representation of your brand, like what it is and kind of, how you present yourself, to your customers and to the rest of the world.
It's funny how it could go full circle, because that's kind of how I started in the business along decades ago. Was those were the kind of websites that I would build people. Um, it was to the point. It's like email us to download our catalog. So like the level of commerce was just they were online brochures. He said, here's what we got. Check it out. It, like you said, it adds credibility, shows that you're legitimate, you're a real brand. But then the actual commerce didn't happen on the website, and it's almost like we're coming full circle with that again. Although I don't, like I said, it's not like the website commerce is disappearing anytime soon. At least I hope not. But I got one more technical question for you, and then I wanted to move in a little bit to talk about growth and marketing, because a lot of people that listen to this are running their own apps, and that's something they're curious to do because they're trying to grow their own businesses as well too. But the last tech question I had was just what's difficult about this? What's the hardest part behind the scenes of getting a section out the door, or just running, if not on a section, maybe that's the easy part, but just in terms of running a shop, a exclusively Shopify app business. What are you guys running into last year, and how has that changed from a few years ago?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, one I think that I will always point out is compatibility. It's not necessarily like a huge issue, but obviously, we want these to work great for everybody, and we want them to work first time. And 99.5% of the time they do. Obviously, making a such a large catalog that works in every Shopify theme, whether it's something from the theme store, theme forest, something that that your mate built, supporting every possible theme on Shopify can be a little bit of a challenge. We've got it down to like a pretty fine art now, which is a lot of sort of like the testing process before a section goes out the door. So that's definitely something that I would call out. Other than that, I don't think there's really anything that's like a massive challenge or that I would like point out other than just the compatibility and making sure that the sections are like pretty bulletproof.
So is the quality of the code base of the individual themes the biggest obstacle that you're up against? Is that what causes a lot of the conflicts? Are they, should I call them less well developed themes, or is it not about quality and it's about something else?
Yeah, generally that is essentially correct. I mean, we don't really run into issues with themes that are provided by Shopify or are distributed on the theme store, because Shopify's got a like a QA process in place, and the code has to be up to a certain standard before they'll distribute it through the theme store. So if there are issues, generally find there with like third party themes from there's a bunch of different websites that like distribute themes, or ones that people have created. So yeah, the Shopify ones are pretty good. The other ones can be a little bit of a mixed bag.
Oh yeah, I could understand that. Just think about from how much conflict you sometimes get between multiple apps running at the same time. They're all injecting their own JavaScripts in the header. They're all pulling. I work on Shopify and WordPress too, and it's like the more layers you add of integration, the more complex it has. Everyone for a while, I feel like the whole world was obsessed with APIs and headless, and it's like, well, you don't need, because now you can just bring it all together. And it's like, you know what? That's coming from someone who has never done this before. Because I feel like the more I tried to automate with APIs, you just run into different sets of problems constantly, and especially with the APIs, they change constantly from the platforms themselves. So they'll make changes, and suddenly what was working before doesn't stop. I don't know. I feel like the more I automate, the more management it takes to manage that automation. So I don't envy you guys for having to work with an unlimited. In fact, because your reputation is based on what theme they're using, what other tools they're using, and it's like, how do you account for literally unlimited combinations of what that could look like? That's tough.
Yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. Although luckily a lot of, if if somebody would go out and create a new Shopify theme tomorrow that they want to distribute somewhere outside of Shopify, chances are they're going to build it on top of probably something Shopify already provides, whether it's like Horizon, or I believe they've released a new template as like a very bare bones like Scalus and other themes. So yeah, a lot of the time they've got like the same structure, the same bones of the theme, which is nice. But yeah, every now and then you do run into one that's unique, or like there's a small compatibility error, but we don't really see ones that we can't solve. It's more just a case of, one in every, maybe 1,000 or 10,000 themes has a small issue and just need to reach out. We can get it fixed, or, change a couple of class names, whatever it may be.
Oh, gotcha. That's not too bad. Well, hey, I wanted to switch gears and talk a little bit about growing the company. Anything else you wanted to add about the app itself, or the tech behind it, before we move on?
No, I think we've pretty much covered everything.
Cool. Well, talk to me about growth. Launched in 2022. Where has most of your new merchants come from? I do imagine that at the time, maybe it's getting less and less because people are more hip to the industry of section stores. But at the beginning, I imagine there was an education involved with it, where it's like, wait, what does it do? Because so talk to me about that. Like, where does most of the customers come from? I know it's not your website, because you guys have like a one-page website with nothing on it. So I'm imagining a lot of it is through the app marketplace.
Yeah, for sure. So initially, funnily enough, actually, a lot of the traffic came through social media. So back then, like right when the app was started, and still to this day, every day, I take my phone out, point it at my laptop screen, shoot a TikTok, commentate over the top of it, post on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. So early days, that's where a lot of traffic came from. Was people just seeing it on TikTok, like, hey, this is how you can add, scrolling logos to your website, and you're not getting charged every month, or like whatever the concept was. As the app got a little bit more maturity, and I'm sure that, you can probably infer a lot of it comes from the App Store now. People are a lot more familiar with the sort of like concept of these theme sections. I meet people in my everyday life where I tell them what I do, and they're aware of like what section store is, because they've like used Shopify at some point in time. And so, now people are a bit more familiar with the concept. A lot of it definitely comes from the App Store, obviously having a lot of reviews. We've got like that built for Shopify accreditation. We're ranking well in those searches for page builders, theme sections, and stuff people will be searching for, where an app like Section Store would be relevant to them.
Gotcha. Do you think with the growing number of competitors that are entering the space in the past few years, you guys are going to have to like differentiate where you're getting customers from outside of that? I guess here we are doing this podcast and submitting pitches. So has that been part of your plan for the past couple of years? Is like, hey, how do we find people outside of the Shopify marketplace?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think every business, obviously wants to grow. We're sort of just at a point now where, maybe got like slightly more time to look into it, and also, the like those other options, your social media, your app store and stuff, have reached a level of maturity, like I mentioned, where people are already aware of them there. So now it's time to like sort of focus on other channels. So it's definitely something, like you said, we're doing the pitch now, like that we're looking into. But I feel like as long as we continue to do what we do, and, produce like the quality of sections that we do, we're still in like a pretty, in a very strong position in regards to like competitors anyway.
Do you guys do strategic partnerships with other, I'll say, non-competitive apps? I know a lot of times you're looking at an app and in the back end it says check out these other apps, and oftentimes they're from the same developer, but not always. Oftentimes it's different developers cross promoting each other. Has that been a avenue that you've tapped into?
Not really, to be honest. I know sort of a few years ago we have done a couple, but it can be difficult to find the right fit in terms of, obviously all of like your usual stuff, like customer size, customer base, but also for us with the, like primarily one-time charge model. If you're getting an app reaching out and, hey, let's do like a cross promotion, and where I know I spoke with one the other day, and they're, at $90 or $100 a month, like for a subscription. And then ours is this like one-time payment model, like $9 per section. First and foremost, I think for a lot of our customers, it doesn't like really make sense. A lot of, brands of all sizes use section store. We've got a lot of people that are on Shopify Plus, but there also is a lot of, merchants who are like just starting out, trying to start their first business online. They don't have like a ton of money to invest into, just Shopify or like the business in general, which is why they love the pricing model. And so I don't think it makes a lot of sense to then turn around to them and say, hey, why don't you, also check out like this other app that's going to, run you $50 or $100 a month. So, I mean, yeah, if anybody's
Oh,
watching, of
that's fair.
course,
So
I would be open to
it's
it if it
tough
makes
from both
sense. But
sides because the expensive apps, a lot, I know sometimes they're on a commission basis too. And it's like, it's a different one thing to get 20-30% recurring commission for life for referring a subscription app that costs $100 per month or more. But what could you possibly offer on one-time $9 sections that could be of interest? And then I see your point on the reverse side of it. It's like, well, we've got, I don't say only budget, because I work with Shopify Plus stores. We're actually using Section Store on some of those Shopify Plus stores too. And money, it's not even about the money. It's just about speed for them. So it's like, if we can do this instantly, it saves us development time. So ultimately it turns into money for them. But I'm saying like they'd spend 90 on the app. It doesn't on the one section if it got it done faster. It's not about the price. But I see your points from both sides. What's one last question about marketing is just what else is on your radar in terms of 2026 for growing this, for getting the word out about it?
yeah, good question. Not entirely sure, to be honest. It's something that I'm putting a little bit of my time into at the moment. In regards to, marketing, it's definitely an area that we need to think on while we're having this conversation, but there's nothing yet necessarily concrete or that we've got locked in for the rest of 2026, but it's definitely a
Well,
focus area for me anyway.
I don't mean to put you on the spot by any means. I honestly, I feel like with this is the hardest part. I have, since starting the newsletter, talked to some of the most brilliant people. I've seen some of the most amazing ideas, and I've seen some of them never even get off the ground. They pitch them to me, they show me what's going on, check back in a few months later. How's it going? No growth whatsoever. And this is the hard part. And honestly, it's outside the wheelhouse of a lot of developers. They have the skill set to build the functionality, but it's an entirely different skill set to then go out and find the people to market it and put it in the hands of merchants. And so sometimes you need that. What's the reference? You need the Steve Jobs. Is that the correct analogy to go with the tech side? I don't know, but
Yeah, for sure. No, I totally agree there. Yeah, it can be very difficult. And like you said, there's a lot of like talented developers. And then, when it comes to the marketing components, so it's one we're looking into. But I think for us, we're sort of fortunate also to be at, a stage of maturity where marketing is still like very important. Don't get me wrong, but it's also a huge focus for us to like, we're at the customer base size now that like, as long as we can just continue, to provide value to them and like continue to provide more value, then that's also, going to hold us in like a pretty strong position, which is going to be another focus of this year. Like we just released the bundles, for example. We've got some other features, that are coming in the not too distant future. Not sure if I can mention them yet, but just making sure that, people get as much value out of the app as possible.
yeah. Well, whatever you're doing is working, because like once you find a customer, if they work on multiple stores, they're probably going to be a customer on multiple stores. At least that was the case for me. As a developer, it's like we like to gravitate towards what we know. And sometimes, not to say that you aren't the best solution, but sometimes I don't even want to look for what could be slightly better. As long as it works well and I'm comfortable with it, that's a big part of how I select apps. I've only got so much time in my day to test out different apps to see what works best. And so once I find one, I grab onto it and I use it as much as possible across all the stores. So I would imagine a lot of your customers, especially the agencies, the developers, are going to be in the same boat. Granted, there's a whole bunch that are one-off. They have one store. That's all they ever work on. But then there's the other group that are like, we manage dozens of stores, and it's good to find good solutions. So, well, hey, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you guys doing the pitch and getting on here and showing everybody how Section Store works. If you want to check it out, it's section.store. They went with the .store TLD, worked perfectly for the name. And then the website will jump you straight to the Shopify Marketplace app listing. Thanks for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your scuba diving and your time in Thailand.
Yeah, much appreciated. Thank you for your time, Paul.